Well, as we continue through our Lenten journey today, we have two long readings. This is one of the things in the ordinary form of the Mass, the version of the Mass that most Catholics experience, that you have these long readings, and sometimes it's like with a number of words you kind of glaze over and it's hard to kind of recognize what's happening. But this is that catechetical element where the church is really trying to teach us about what Jesus came for and what Jesus has done for us in this season. And so if you think of the readings that we encounter as meant to teach about Jesus, his identity, his mission, and about you as a Christian and your response, then it'll give you something to work with, right? And so we read today from Genesis chapter 37, different parts of it, where it talks about Joseph, and we hear the lore for Joseph. This guy Joseph is beloved of his father. I wonder if that language could almost be deliberate. Amazing, isn't it? Yeah, so every detail of the story that would have been passed down by oral tradition over time tells us something significant theologically. And his brothers have a problem with him, and they're envious, right? And the devil is said to have fallen from envy. So they are satanic figures, right? They're like Satan because they envy the only begotten, the very important son's position, right, in the eyes of the Father. And they decide first they're going to kill him, right? And then they decide just to put him in a kind of an empty well, and then they later on sell him. And there's definitely an irony here in selling the beloved son, because the Catechism of the Catholic Church tells us that human life, you can't buy or sell a human life. That's a violation of human dignity, right? To buy or sell a person. And of course, there are actually more slaves, more economic slaves, more people that are sexually enslaved even in the world today than there ever been throughout human history. And there's a terrible epidemic of human slavery, human trafficking that is happening in the world. And so we think of that too. And so Joseph is sold to the Ishmaelite caravan for 20 pieces of silver. Again, kind of projecting forward, you think about Judas he betrays Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. And so Joseph's story is it points forward. It's a type of Christ. Joseph's a type of Christ. And so we see these echoes of what Christ would do, and that helps us understand that Christ is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. Now we look at our gospel today. We've heard this a number of times, right? The parable of the wicked tenants and the stone which the builders rejected. And here you have a landowner, which is a recurring theme in Jesus' stories, his parables. The landowner represents the Father, his own Father. And the tenants, the people that own the vineyard, in this case could be seen as different things. They can be the Jewish leadership. They can be the Jewish people in general in a certain sense too. But to kind of summarize all this, the way the fathers of the church explained the development of Christianity, that God makes covenants with the Jewish people, and these covenants are broken over and over. It does not work out. And then finally, he inaugurates through the blood of his Son at the hill of Calvary the final and definitive covenant, that which is not going to be ever superseded, as St. Paul clearly teaches. And so this story that Jesus tells references not only this covenant, the new and eternal covenant, but even the specific events that happen in his passion, his death, all those kind of things. Now, one of the details that doesn't make it into this version as clearly is that the Son, although killed, will return. He will arise. He will return. But he is the stone rejected by the builders, the stone, the brother rejected by Joseph's siblings, right? That is this central figure of the New Testament church. And so what I want to share with you is it's so easy to hear our gospel today and to think those are the bad guys, the Pharisees, the scribes, people that wanted to crucify Jesus maybe. Those are bad guys. Gosh, I'm not like those bad guys. Yeah, we are though. We are though. We're at least as bad. We're really at least as bad when we reject God through mortal sin, right? Through full-on mortal sin. Because we receive the gift of God, and in those moments we reject it. We reject it. And so this story is a bit fierce in that, it does involve, obviously, the tenants get kicked out and almost hunted down by the Father. But it's really about God's mercy. It's really about God's mercy because the Father gives the church, the vineyard, to the care of the Gentiles, to everybody, people like us. So, again, as we read a story like we heard today in the gospel, don't read it and think, oh, those people are so bad. They're just awful. Just terrible, terrible, terrible people. And realize we could be talking about ourselves. And so how much we need the gift of God, His grace, His mercy, the sacrament of reconciliation, and to keep pressing forward in Lent, never to take our salvation for granted or to assume it.